Yeah.
I want to type
people
like,
are leaving death notes on their body.
thank you for killing me. I really did miss those nice little tunes that introduce all the underused weapons videos. It's been a while since we've done that, and that was one of my favorite Battlefield 2 loading screen menu songs. I think if you played Battlefield 2, that will bring back some really, really good memories. Well, what's going on, guys, in the works? And yes, we are doing an underused weapons today. This will actually be the second one here on Battlefield 4, and a lot of people were wondering in my last video, it's like, okay, well, what weapons you're going to do? And, you know, this has been a lot tougher to do underused weapons in Battlefield 4 than it was in Battlefield 3, because I feel like a lot of the weapons are more balanced. But I think everyone can agree that the most underpowered and underused carbine in the game is the G36C. It seems like it is the one weapon that everyone can agree on needs some sort of buff, because it went from being a really solid choice in Battlefield 3 to being the what the heck am I doing using this weapon choice in Battlefield 4. And I wanted to make sure I got the G36 episode out before any sort of major weapon changes are pushed out by DICE, because it's nice to see where the weapon was and then where it was after the patch. And I think that's what Underused Weapons has always done well. It's always been a series that looks at some of the lesser used weapons on the battlefield and say, hey, why are people not using this? Is it an underappreciated weapon, or perhaps it just sucks all, outright? And I think the G36C, if you look at the base stats, it shoots 650 rounds per minute, which is 100 less than the Battlefield 3 counterpart and 100 less than what, the actual makers of the weapon says it should shoot, because if you go to the website for H&K, it says the G36C shoots 750 rounds per minute. So it made me scratch my head whenever I was looking at it for the first time after unlocking it. I was like, well, why on earth did DICE feel like they needed to nerf it? And common logic would say, typically when the fire rate goes down, the controllability of the weapon goes up. DICE tends to balance that out. It's the way it always has been. So if you have a weapon that has a good, medium fire rate, typically it's really easy to control at the medium to long ranges, making it excel in those ranges over something like the A91, which shoots really quick, or even like the MTAR, which is another fast fire rate weapon. And for some reason, the G36C just doesn't seem to get those bonuses. I mean, if you're going to compare it to like the AKU-12 or the Type 95, it really doesn't do anything better than them. I mean, in most scenarios, you're better off using both of those weapons. I mean, they do have some slight differences here and there, but for the most part, it is an easier to control weapon. The same with the Type 95, the QBZ-95, same weapon that was in Battlefield 3. So I find a hard time really breaking the G36 down as a usable weapon. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there that are like, oh man, I love this weapon, and I've done fine with it. I have done, I have over 200 kills with the G36C. Like, it kind of surprised me when I was doing this video. I was scrolling through, and I was like, man, I've actually racked up a lot of kills with this thing, because I have been trying for a long time to find a role for the G36C, and I have struggled. It has been a very painful adventure. Because when I use it, I'm just like, why? Why are we using that? And it's really nothing against the weapon. Well, I guess it really is something against the weapon because it sucks, but I love the G36. It's one of the coolest assault rifles in the world. I love using it in video games. I've always been a fan of it. I mean, it looks awesome. I mean, just the way it reloads is it's just pleasing. And I would say that's pretty much the only reason why I would ever suggest using this. Typically, when I do an underused weapons, I try to find a reason to use a particular weapon. And I mean, the G36C isn't hard to control. I'm gonna be the first to tell you that. I'm not saying that it's a hard to control weapon that only shoots 650 rounds per minute. I'm just saying that when compared to like the AKU or even the Type 95, those are slightly easier to control. It just makes more sense to use those weapons. Now, can you do well using the G36C in a round? The obvious answer is yes. You're not going to find yourself, I mean, if you watch this video and you use the G36C and liked it, it's probably not going to change your opinion too much. I mean, if you've done well with the weapon, if you like using it, by all means use it. I mean, this is a video game. It's there to have fun. It's there to experiment with different rifles. But I would like to see them take it up to 750 because, like I said, you can do well in a round. There's no doubt about that. This particular Paracel Storm round, the little clips I've been showing you from it, both games I did really awesome with it. I think one game I got like 45 kills and like 10 deaths on Paracel Storm. So it's far from being an unusable weapon like I've seen a lot of people say. I've seen a lot of people really hammering Alan Kurtz saying, you need to buff the G36C, it's unusable, blah, blah, blah. And I will admit it's underpowered. It needs some sort of advantage over the other rifles to make it a choice, to make it something that I want to use. But I wouldn't say that it's unusable. I would just say that it's underused. So let me know what you guys think. Do you like the G36C? Would you like to see it change? I personally would love to see it go back to its 750 RPM standard. That is what the standard H&K G36C shoots. It makes more sense. Why don't we make it like the real life, guys? But let me know in the comments what your thoughts on it. I am actually curious how popular this weapon is because oddly enough, a lot of people, I always see them experiment with it. I'll get killed by it once and I'll get killed by the same guy a little bit later and he stopped using it. I think a lot of people like to toy around with it and realize, hey, these actually kind of suck. But if you didn't miss any of my past videos, here's a chance to catch up. And I highly suggest you catch my Donkey Kong review on the second channel if you haven't had a chance to watch that yet. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.